right, so next up, we actually have a first-time guest on the podcast. This guest has actually not been on the podcast before, but they're coming on for the one-year anniversary, and I invited this guest on because they are someone that has been an inspiration to me in podcasting. They also have a podcast. They started a Sea of Thieves podcast around the same time I did. They have the Keelhauled Podcast. They talk about Sea of Thieves weekly, and we have both been into that game for a while now. We both play the beta. And I'd like to welcome to the podcast Capt Logun. How are you, Capt Logun?
Ahoy there, mateys. How be ye? I'm doing just fine, thank you. Thank you again for inviting me onto the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you could come on here. You know, I listen to your podcast every week. I've listened to every episode you've done, and you do a great job on your podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I love yours as well. And yeah, we did kind of start ours around the same time, both in the love of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, and, you know, I kind of went in a different direction afterwards, and you kind of stay with Sea of Thieves. Kind of like you said in your podcast before, you know, I basically just cover the content updates now, and, you know, anything that's big, like when the arena comes out, I'll definitely do an episode on the arena, but I kind of went towards the State of Decay community more. It just kind of felt more natural for me, so that's kind of where I'm at more now, but I still, you know, play Sea of Thieves sometimes. I still enjoy the game, and we had a lot of other people start out with us too, but now we're down to, you know, just basically you, so.
Yeah, there were quite a few. I think there was, let's see, Shipwrecks and Shanties, Plundercast. We had, Land Hose going from time to time. You, me, and then the Rare Team. So yeah, there was about 6 podcasts at the start, and now it's down to me solely. The Landho guys are great, but they pop in about once a month, and I know you're still covering all the regular updates and stuff, so it's kind of whittled down over time. But
definitely.
I definitely I was happy when you found the State of Decay game and that you got really passionate about that, because that was one of the important things about me doing my podcast, is I just want to make sure that whatever I did do was something that I was passionate about. So you finding that was a really good give, because I know that was something that you were kind of waning on with Sea of Thieves, is it wasn't grabbing you the way it did back in beta.
Yeah, because back in beta I really loved it and stuff, but then, you know, I just kind of got tired with it a little bit, I think. I never really got tired of the game completely like some people did, but yeah. I just fell out of favor with the game as like something I would play, you know, constantly every week. And it became more of a game that I played, you know, on occasions. But I know one of the things you talked about in your podcast before that I've kind of mentioned, it's a game that's hard to get into when you have a short amount of time. And I'm not someone that has a lot of spurts of time at one time, so if I only have an hour to play, it's hard to really do a lot in Sea of Thieves for 1 hour.
Yeah, they've done a lot to try and give you more as you get into the game, as you kind of go through and grab barrels, and sometimes they're empty, sometimes they're full, and try and get you out onto the sea sooner. But for the most part, I think Arena is going to be the best way to go when it comes to like actually having those shorter gameplay sessions and stuff. I've heard some initial thoughts on the Arena from some folks, and they say they really like it, but there's a couple things that they're hoping will get worked on as like Pioneer sessions continue and they're able to get it out eventually.
Awesome, yeah, I can't wait to play it too. I mean, I wish they would have at least had an announced date by now, because I was hoping to hear when it's going to come out, but hopefully that date comes soon.
Well, the nice thing is the 1 year anniversary is coming up on March 20th. And the stuff that they had pushed out from last year and to do more work on it, basically, is going to get announced on March 20th. So March 20th, we'll find out all the stuff that they've been working on for the last 4 months, plus Arena, when all that stuff's actually coming out. And typically, in Sea of Thieves past, when they do an announcement for like the next content update, it's typically about 3 weeks prior to when the actual content drops. So my hopes are March 20th will be the announcement, and then 3 weeks later we'll get the actual release.
No, that'd be really cool, and I'd be excited for it, because that basically means we're probably going to get it around the start of April, so that'd be cool with me, so.
Yeah, and this should probably be like the biggest update we've ever seen, because it'll probably comprise of the new mode, the Arena, plus all the stuff and the reworks they've been working on for last, since fall was when they originally planned on having this content, pushed out, and they pushed that out to bring in the Devil's Roar content, and then Shrouded Spoils was kind of like the community requests, update, so it wasn't too hard to really kind of work into, but this should be pretty extensive as far as like content as far as changes to the game, improvements, cosmetics, things like that. And there's been a lot that's been kind of data mined up until this point that hasn't been introduced into the game yet, and we're kind of wondering when that stuff's all going to drop.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the content updates we have had. There's been a lot throughout the, first year of Sea of Thieves, and you mentioned Shrouded Spoils. That was kind of like a hodgepodge of, like, different community suggestions and things that they brought into the game, which actually made the game a lot more fun. Is there, like, a content update that was probably your favorite out of the 4?
I would have to say that it's tough because I would naturally kind of say that Shrouded Spoils was my favorite because that's what really made the world feel alive all the time. But if it wasn't for, if it wasn't for Curse Sales, if it wasn't for Forsaken Shores, if it wasn't for the Hungering Deep, then all the stuff that they ramped up with Shrouded Spoils wouldn't have been even in the game. We wouldn't have had Megalodons and skeleton ships and more Kraken exposure. We wouldn't have had any of that because those
very true.
Wouldn't have even been in the game. So part of me wants to say Shrouded Spoils for bringing it all together, but at the same time, I really did love the Hungering Deep. I think that the experience of finding a crew for the first time and convincing them to join you using the speaking trumpet and then, not murdering each other after having, a month or so of just nothing but bloodshed on the seas, having that 1 week or 2 weeks where it was just everyone was working together to kill this Meg, and this Meg was huge and it was vicious and it took forever. That was really special. I don't think I'll ever forget those moments, being able to take people out and get them their Megalodon, shark stuff.
I had a lot of fun with that too, and killing the Hungering Deep the first time, that was a lot of fun for that first experience because now it's kind of feels like it's something that you do all the time, but with first time you did it, it was a lot of fun, and I really had a lot of fun with the first time.
Yeah, and I think that was one of those situations where having two crews, like mandatory, did kind of give you the experience where it was like you got the opportunity to take a moment to actually like see what was going on with the Megalodon when it would bite another ship. Now it's like the Megalodon just bites your ship and it's cool looking, but it's not as cool as like just being a voyeur while you're trying to fix your own ship in between fighting moments.
Right. But for me personally, I would probably say Forsaken Shores is my favorite just because the whole Devil's Roar region, I really loved introducing that region and having all of the volcanoes, the geysers, all those really cool things, the rowboats. Like, I thought a lot of that was so unique and so much fun to actually play with. So that's probably my choice for the favorite.
Yeah, that was a really great, and it was freaky too. Like having the volcanoes go off, I was very trepidatious about getting close to them when they were going off. And yeah, I can definitely see why that would be your favorite. It's dangerous.
I remember my first encounter with geysers too. Like, I didn't understand they were dangerous at first, so I got thrown up in the air by one of them, and then I landed back on the ground, and I was pretty much dead. I'm like, oh, that's a little bit dangerous, so.
Oh, man. And getting hit by multiple ones, you're just like, oh, yeah. God, just let this end. And then it would, and you're like, I'm happy to be on the ferry. Thank you.
Yeah, because the first time you see it, it's like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool to look at. It's like, oh, wait, this can actually kill me.
Yeah, this isn't the fun ride I thought it was. I won off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, though.
The treasure was great, too. I love just the fact that all the treasure was just ramped up in quality. That was, oh, man. I was drooling over the Ashen stuff when we started getting Ashen villainous skulls for 2K, and I was like, what? This is a gold mine. Yeah. And the lore they introduced in that was exceptional. Something that I hope that they'll touch on with the upcoming update. There's a lot that with like Stitcher Jim and the Shroud Breakers, things like that I'm just like, that's the little hints and teases to stuff that could be coming. I want to know more. I want to have more story.
Right. No, I like the story too, just I don't have a lot of time to explore the story as often, and that's kind of why I enjoy your podcast, because, I get to hear about the story when I can't experience all of it, so.
Yeah. And that was something I noticed, when we first started talking about podcasts and stuff, we were trying to work out kind of what would be the best way to go and how to approach it, and you definitely always, wanted to take a very analytical, I remember you saying that you wanted to have a very analytical viewpoint with your Sea of Thieves podcast, which paired well with mine because I tend to be a lot more, like just kind of emotional when talking about the game and, what I like, what I don't like, what's cool, what's not cool. And, talking about the updates and stuff, but for the most part, just kind of keeping things very casual with the news as opposed to drilling down and really kind of narrowing your focus and making sure that, like if you're going to talk about a topic, then you do a lot of research on that topic and you make sure that you've got kind of anything that people need to know going into it and coming out of it that they're really well informed about that. So it worked out really, really well when we first started recording together.
Yeah, I think that worked out really well. And we had the other podcasts too that kind of balanced it out too, where, Land Ho, they had, I think kind of a in the middle strategy to that. Mm-hmm. And then, Shipwrecks and Shanties, that isn't around anymore, but I think they were kind of, way on the lighthearted side of things. They didn't seem as knowledgeable as some of the rest of us, but they kind of took it lightheartedly, and it was kind of fun. So
yeah, they definitely wanted to kind of approach each topic and talk about that, but I think that they were so busy with other stuff that they just didn't have the time investment to be able to do a lot of the research that needed to be done to give people better information. I remember some of the criticisms about their well, I guess I don't really need to go into that, but they decided to stop because they just didn't have time to do it, and that's understandable.
Yeah, and then, as you mentioned, too, the other one that used to be around was Plundercast, too, and they were pretty lighthearted as well. They had, characters built up, and it was kind of fun to listen to them, but unfortunately, they're defunct now as well.
Yeah, and they never really gave, like, actually, now that I think about it, Plundercast and Shipwrecks and Shanties just kind of stopped. They never really gave like a send off or anything.
Yeah, they didn't have like an ending podcast. Like, okay, guys, this is our last one. See ya. Like,
yeah, that was always really strange because it kind of left you and me because we wanted to make sure if there were other Sea of Thieves podcasts to listen to that we were actually like keeping up with what they were saying and stuff in case we might have missed something or they had a different viewpoint because we're both solo shows for the most part.
Right.
And you actually have some really good guests from time to time too, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So it was one of those things where it was like they never really had like a solid send off. So we didn't know, like, should we like unsubscribe? Should we just hold out and see if they come back? And eventually they just never came back.
Yeah, I know eventually I unsubscribed from them and then Land Ho, I kept, subscribed just in case they came back, which fortunately they did come back, but they kind of seem to be once a month now. You came back, you were actually on one of their episodes and that was kind of cool to listen to.
Yeah, I had a good time chatting with them. It was really nice. They're really nice guys, and they bring some good criticism to the game. I just think that their real lives are busy to the point where they aren't able to dedicate as much time to like a weekly episode and stuff. So
right, that's definitely understandable. So
yeah, podcasting isn't exactly a full-time job for many of us. So like not being able to have time to take care of it like you would anything else or like an actual job for family and stuff is definitely takes a lot of time to work on these.
Absolutely. But kind of around the beginning, we can probably talk a little bit about how we met a little more. And basically around that, I started my podcast. Sea of Thieves launched on the 20th. I launched my first couple episodes on the 16th. So I basically was launching my podcast right before that. And I think you launched yours maybe like a week or two before mine. And basically I found your podcast, I found your Discord, and I jumped in there. I'm like, hey, I've been listening to your podcast. I just started Sea of Thieves podcast too, and that's kind of how we met. So
yeah, it was really nice to have you reach out. I had a few people reach out to me when the game went live. Some of them wanted to jump on the podcast, and others wanted to start their own. So I know some of them. Actually, I don't think any of the ones that mentioned that they wanted to start a podcast, other than you, were the ones that had actually reached out to me. I think you're the only one that actually followed through on that, so kudos to that. But yeah, I just had my 1 year on the 21st of February was when my first episode went live, and it was really fun. I had a good time celebrating that, although I didn't get to do like a nice stream.
Hopefully you get to do one soon, though. I mean, I'll be doing a 12-hour one today because this episode's going to launch on the 16th, so when people hear this, I'll have a 12-hour stream, but hopefully you get to do one soon as well.
Yeah, I'll probably be streaming. Well, I usually stream throughout the week if I can, but it'll be nice. I want to do some giveaways and stuff if I can, try and get something out to the community who's kind of supported me for this time, so I'll see about trying to work on that over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, that'd be cool too, and you know, I think this whole journey has been really fun too, because I don't know if you remember back then, but back then, I think, I was still pretty nervous about starting podcasts, and I think you had the same, nerves a little bit too, because you were just starting out. Like, we're like, well, we're just starting this out. Let's see where this adventure goes.
Oh, yeah, dude, it was, I tell you what, man, starting a podcast can be nerve-wracking, because you're never sure, like, how things are gonna go. Does the audio sound okay? How do I make music for this? Should I do a logo?
Right.
Like, what's legal?
Is anyone even gonna listen to this? Like,
yeah. I have to shout out Terra Nova, because he was the one that really kind of got me into it. He was a guy that I sailed with from Australia, during the betas, and, him and I would talk a lot. And, one of the things that I was telling him was I was thinking about doing a podcast for this. And he's like, well, just do it. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, just record it right now. And I'm like, and this was during a stream. I was just like, okay, well, what should I call it? And he's like, how about Keelhauled? And I'm like, okay, we'll go with Keelhauled. Sure.
It worked out pretty good.
Yeah, a year later. Yeah, I didn't ever think. And the biggest thing I've been surprised about is the recognition from the community and from the studio. I never thought that I never thought that the podcast would get big enough to get recognized by the studio. You've had the same fortune as well too with the State of Decay. Yeah. It's such a cool feeling to be.
It's awesome
working with the actual studio to talk about things, to have conversations with the devs and stuff. Like, so neat.
Absolutely. I've had some of the developers from State of Decay on my podcast before too, and I hope that's an experience that you can have at some point as well.
Yeah, I'm shooting for the top. I'm hoping my first one will be Joe. I just want Joe Neat to come onto the show and chat with him for a little bit, but he's a hard man to get a hold of, let me tell you.
I can imagine, yeah. He's pretty busy on the soup stuff.
Yeah. I'll see if I can, there's definitely a few of the dev team that I chat with on a regular basis, through like Twitter and stuff. And they're always, they're the kindest people, I could ask to chat with about games. So maybe I can, squeeze one of them in. It's a funny thing. I don't know that, Sea of Thieves actually has like a social, well, they have like a community management team, but I don't know that they have any like a press release people that are like, no, you can't talk to that person. They're going to ask you weird questions. And if you say something, that's going to be bad. I think they're all kind of left to their own devices. Like, should I say this or shouldn't I? I'm just not going to say anything because I'm not sure.
I think State of Decay has that basically, but Undead Labs is such a great studio that they pretty much let everyone, talk about things as long as they're not like revealing content they're not supposed to reveal. But that's basically the only rule. So
yeah, that's cool. That's please don't release content that we're not that we're not ready to talk about yet.
Exactly.
People will get those expectations, and then they're going to be like, "All right, well that's awesome," but it never came to fruition. So yeah,
no, definitely. And kind of talking about guests a little bit. I think your podcast is unique that, I started out with a co-host, and then I kind of went solo for a while, but then I kind of brought some guests in too. Yeah. So I kind of go back and forth between solo and having guests. Mm-hmm. But you've always stayed solo, so how is that different for you, always staying solo? I mean, I know we had conversations in the past where it's got to be easier in some ways because you don't have to wait on anyone else. You can just go whenever you want to go, but at some points it's probably harder in some ways too.
Doing a show really does rely on my community. My community has been very supportive, and they've been great for giving me content. Because for time to time, there's always going to be lulls in games. And with me being like a solely dedicated podcast just for Sea of Thieves, I kind of have to like live and die on just every week having content from them. And if they don't put out weekly updates to let me know like what's going on or what they're talking about, or if the updates aren't full of a lot of new news, then I have to start reaching out to the community for interesting things that are going on with people making stuff, or as far as oh, I'm sorry, my pet's playing with paper. But if news is slow, then I don't really have other games to really fall back on. And I don't have anyone that I can kind of chew time with, when I'm actually talking. So having the community be my kind of co-host is really important to me. Their First Mates logs are some of the things that make the episodes what they are. You know, if not for their stories to share, I don't think the show would be nearly as interesting.
No, I definitely agree with that. Hearing all the other First Mates logs when you do your podcast, that's a really cool experience for me. And I want to call out, one of your community members, Captain Jorvik. He has like such a cool First Mates log that when he does it, it's such a cool audio quality when he actually has it on there.
Yeah, he works in the audio business, so he's fortunate that he's got some really good. He actually confided in me one time, and I'm gonna spoil this for some folks, but he actually had one of his new employees edit one of his First Mates logs. So it was kind of funny to find out that he actually has a team of people that he can call upon
That's awesome.
to make his First Mates logs. But he's a great guy. He's very passionate about the game, and definitely I love when he takes the time to make some of his First Mates logs, because they're top notch, and he puts a lot of effort and time into them, and whenever they're ready, and he hands them off, and I more than happily throw them in.
Yeah, I mean, and I gotta say too, like when I hear his First Mates logs, it makes me think about my audio. I'm like, is my audio good enough? Like,
oh yeah, yeah. Compared to full studio like equipment, mixers,
it's like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, man, that would be. God,
yeah,
I wish I had the time to be able to add in like a
Definitely.
bunch of music, and I even messed around with it. One time I actually added in music and whatnot, and I got like 0 response or feedback on it, and I was like, man, that was a lot of work, and I didn't get anyone. Nobody mentioned anything about that, so I'm just gonna hold off. If everyone's okay with me just blabbing on for 20 minutes about a story, and they don't need the music, then that's cool. But yeah, I love Jorvik's First Mates logs. He really he puts some great content out there.
No, he does, and so do you as well. I definitely want everyone that's listening to this, definitely go check out Keelhauled Podcast, because you do a great job every week talking about Sea of Thieves, and anyone that does like Sea of Thieves on my podcast, that is where you want to be if you want weekly Sea of Thieves news.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's one of those things where I will probably pick up another podcast so that I can do more of what you actually do, because I kind of like the idea of being able to talk about multiple games and give feedback and information about them. And the more and more I listen to other friends' podcasts, the more I'm just like, man, it wouldn't be too bad to have like an additional podcast just for all the other games that I want to play. Like it's Sea of Thieves will always be my first love and probably the thing I'm most passionate about. But I would love to be able to chat with some people about some of the new stuff coming out.
No, it's definitely fun, and State of Decay is kind of the same thing for me. Like that's always going to be my priority, but I do enjoy talking about other games too. I just started a series, monthly on Dead by Daylight. I do like one podcast a month on that. So it's fun to have other series too that you go, oh, I'm going to talk about this game today. So.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yours was one of the ones where I was going to try and get more information about Crackdown 3, because I just wasn't, like, I'm not privy to what that series is about, and people are talking about like going to hunt down orbs on the live Xbox show, and I was just like, I have no clue what this is about, but I know Derreck's got something about it, so I'm going to listen to that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, honestly. I'm still playing that game for a little while today,
Yeah.
It's definitely a fun game. It's not really a game that's, got a lot of thinking involved, but it's not trying to be that game. It's trying to be a game that, you just jump in, shoot some stuff, and, call it a night. Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and those games are good to have. That was one of the reasons why I love, like, Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, and those kind of games were fun for that kind of just mindless running around murdering stuff. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. I might pick up Game Pass soon here and get a chance to actually play around in that.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. And State of Decay is on Game Pass too, so if you want to jump in there. So
is that I can't remember. Is that on PC?
It is on PC, yes.
That's right. Yeah. I need to find more time in the day. I got to figure that one out. Because there's so many.
Yeah, that's always the struggle. So
yeah. I just bought Red Dead Redemption 2 when it was on sale, so I was like, I don't know when I'm actually going to play this game. I just picked up Starlink because I wanted to get more Star Fox in my life, and everyone's, I've been waiting to get a deal on Red Dead Redemption. I'm just like, they're like, have fun for the next 3 months, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to even start it in 3 months. There's so much other stuff going on, like between Sea of Thieves and Apex Legends and Blizzard titles and, playing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with us too, is, with you with Sea of Thieves and me with State of Decay, I mean, because we're so focused on those games, we really don't have a ton of time to check out other games. I don't check out a ton of games, but the ones I do check out, I try to check out in depth.
Yeah. And I because I haven't got a second show about it, I can't just be like, guys, you're never gonna believe what I found out about Apex Legends. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, that's cool. Where's the piracy in that game? And I'm like, oh man, no, forget piracy.
I think the only other games you've mentioned is like Atlas and Skull and Bones, because they're kind of related to your game a little bit.
Yeah, and Atlas, man, I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole anymore. And Skull and Bones has gone quiet for the moment, so it's just purely waiting for this next update for Sea of Thieves. Hoping that it really changes the playing field for everyone.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I am going to be doing Sea of Thieves for part of my stream today, so if you want to jump in there and check it out, that's where I'm going to be starting. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely. I do have one question though for you regarding Sea of Thieves. If you had to have one thing added to the game, whether it was like a mechanic or if it was like a cosmetic or it was a feature or a biome or, a threat in the world, any of that, what would you love to have come to the game?
Honestly, my favorite thing to come to the game would be like a ice biome, because I really want some kind of ice biome where like maybe you can freeze to death if you're in the water too long, or maybe your ship has to stop at a certain point because it got trapped by ice and you have to kind of like break the ice away. Or I think it'd be really cool. There's a lot of stuff they could do with the ice biome. That's something I really want to see.
Yeah, I really love Titanic too.
Yeah, so I think that'd be really cool for the game. So.
Yeah, no, I actually I was that Frozen Fangs art concept that came out was exceptional, and having this whole concept of like putting an ice biome in, and there's been a lot of hints to it in the past as well as people whispering about that kind of stuff. So I think that's on the horizon, but I just don't know like when. I know they would love to do it, but who knows when we'll actually get a chance to actually push that out.
Yeah, there's so many different things they could do with it that'd be really cool, I think. I mean, imagine if like you jumped into the water and you became an ice cube for a couple seconds. That'd be kind of funny too. Like, oh shoot, I'm an ice cube.
Straight out of Looney Tunes. Let's just have a giant ice cube. Someone has to come and chip it away, or they have to like two guys have to grab you and drag you over to a fire and just let you melt. Yeah.
Take out your eye of reach, quick! Shoot my ice cube.
They're like, all right, guys, sorry, we're gonna have to leave him behind. That would be great.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
I think you can make good use of the rowboats that way too, because if it's an ice biome, I think they can make really good use of the rowboats where you have to use the rowboats more, probably.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the idea of being in an ice biome where your ship gets stuck in the ice, and I mean, we have shovels. We could totally use them to chip away at ice around the boat. I think that was definitely you could get around that. And having the top deck that always has like a little bit of water on it when you're sailing, having that kind of freeze over so you don't have like sure footing because you're just slipping around on ice on the top deck would be great. Trying to carry treasure like a drunken grog chest around on an icy deck, that'd be hilarious.
That'd be fun, actually. Even you could have your cup of grog actually freeze on you. That'd be cool.
Oh man, yeah. Try and drink it, and it's just frozen. Just hits you in the face, and you take damage, and there's just a lump of grog sitting on the deck. God, that would be great. Yeah,
so there's so many fun things you can do with that. I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah. It opens up a lot of potential for clothing, for icy beards, man. Like thinking like Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, like when they had all the ice on their beards and they just looked ridiculous. Like going that far would be hilarious. That's really
absolutely. Cool. So hopefully they have something like that in the future, and I'm definitely all for it if they bring it in.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. I think it'll be one of those things that people will really get a kick out of, and there's a lot of potential for what they could do with all the different mechanics. Like we didn't know that boiling water was going to be a thing with the Devil's Roar, but having that in the game is amazing.
Absolutely. And that's why I think the ice biome kind of be counterpart to that, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be amazing. I look forward to that. And when that comes, we'll definitely have to get together and go have some fun out on the ice, throw some snowballs.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're free today, you're welcome to jump into my crew and have some fun with us. So we'll see if you're free.
Yeah, definitely. I know I got work in a little bit, but I got some time before then.
Well, this is going to release on March 16th, so I'm talking about March 16th. So
yes, yeah. I can't remember what day is the 16th, because I'm pretty sure
that's a Saturday.
Oh, it's a Saturday? Oh, I got time on Saturday. I got time on Saturday. If you're streaming on Saturday, then we'll definitely do it.
Perfect. Let's make it happen. Maybe you can give me my first Legend Voyage there, because I haven't had one yet. So.
What? What? You've never done a Legend Voyage?
Nope, I'm not a Legend yet. So.
Oh my God. Oh, you don't know the pain. You haven't felt the pain of the Legend Voyage, man. The constant barrage of evil skeletons that take 6 or 7, 8 hits with a sword to kill that are unrelenting, along with the powder keg skeletons. And oh man, that's gonna be exciting. You're gonna hate that. We definitely got to do that.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I'm starting my stream at 10 a.m. on the 16th, so I'm gonna start with Sea of Thieves as my first game. So maybe we can make it happen.
Yeah, I can wake up early. That's definitely a possibility. I'll get up early on Saturday and we'll have to drop a Legend Voyage, and then you could feel the full wrath of Sea of Thieves at its worst.
All right, I'm ready for it. We'll make it happen.
That sounds good. Okay.
But is there anything before you go that you want to say to my audience for the 1-year anniversary?
Thank you for sticking around and listening to the Blaise XPerience. It's definitely been one of the shows that's on heavy rotation for me. You're not going wrong with sticking with Derreck and the Blaise XPerience. Kudos to you. I hope you guys have a great time, and cheers to the next year of podcasting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you could come on the show. Hopefully we can have you back on at some point, and I can't wait to sail with you at some point.
Yeah, it's a good time. I really appreciate you inviting me, and we'll definitely get together for that Saturday morning.
Awesome, that sounds good. Well, Captain Logan, thank you for coming on again.
Cheers, mate.